All right. Let's come to order. Please take your seats. Please take your seats. Call upon Scott Bowen to present the Resolutions Committee report.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And before we start, do we need to give an opportunity for the speaker to?
Yeah.
Okay. So before we start, if Dade Phelan is in attendance, he is offered the opportunity to speak for 10 minutes to the SREC. Is he here? I don't hear him. So anyway, we will move into our presentation, which I think is long awaited for some of you, but I'll explain why on the resolution to censure Dade Phelan. And if we could please pull that up on the screen. PowerPoint. So first of all, just to kind of recap, and I know a lot of you have seen this before, some of you are new to this process. What has to happen in order to censure someone under Rule 44? You have to start with a county meeting the requirements under Rule 44 to censure one of their office holders. It has to be a county from within their district. And so Jasper County submitted the censure that we're acting on for Dade Phelan. Orange County submitted one several months before, but ultimately that one was not acted on by the Resolutions Committee. The Jasper County's resolution incorporated the charges that Orange County brought up and then also added more related to the Paxton impeachment, which played out after Orange County had already acted. The requirements from the county level are that notice and invitation be given to that office holder at the county level, which was done. A 2/3 vote and a majority of the membership of the county executive committee of that county have to vote in favor. That happened. And then in their resolution, they have to identify at least 3 violations of the principles of the Republican Party or of the legislative priorities and request for a concurrence from the SREC in order for a penalty to be imposed. And so they did that. And their copy of the resolution has been shared. From the SREC's level, our requirement is that we give no less than 14 days notice before this vote today, which did occur. Speaker Phelan's office was notified that this vote would take place, and an opportunity to appear, which he was just given and through his absence declined. So there's been some talk about the particulars of Rule 44 and how it relates to when a vote to censure can actually occur. And there are 2 different entities that can vote to concur with the county's censure and impose a penalty through the Republican Party of Texas. The first is the SREC, that's us, and the second is a state convention. So as the rule currently reads, if you pull out that sentence, and we're going to show the whole of Rule 44 in a sec because there's another point I want to make. It reads, such a resolution from the county may include a request to the SREC or any state convention held prior to the start of the filing period of a Republican primary election while these rules are in effect, that the named office holder be penalized. So, the held prior clause does not apply to the SREC and the state convention. It only applies to the state convention. The filing period is over, but that does not restrict the SREC from taking a vote in favor of a motion to censure that imposes penalties. However, a state convention is caught in a bind based on the way Rule 44 is written, because a state convention cannot act after the filing period is over. So the state convention that we have coming up in May cannot vote to censure a candidate in the 2024 primaries. They can vote to censure a candidate in the 2026 primaries because that filing period hasn't started yet. However, assuming they adopt these rules. However, that creates a different problem because under current Rule 44, the only actions that can be censured are actions that take place in the biennium following that convention. So there's no actual time between when the convention starts and when it would be voted on at convention for the notice periods to happen, for the counties to act. And so right now there is no way to censure an office holder at the state convention. It's been done before, but as Rule 44 is currently written, there's no way to do it. So I know there's been some discussion about that, and if we can pull up Rule 44, there's another provision that has that's kind of related. If you scroll down to Part 1, Part 1 here. So if the office holder, could you highlight if the office holder files an application to run for any public office in the Republican Party primary following the censure resolution's passage? Again, that does not require that a censure resolution pass before the fight is in March. We're in February. So that requirement is also satisfied. Then the SREC shall be authorized to spend up to 12%, and you can read the rest. So that is not a restriction on us either. So if the argument is made that that there's anything in this rule requiring a censure vote to take place before the filing deadline of the primary, that's not true. There's nothing in the rule that requires that. And so anyway, I wanted to kind of go through that so that everyone would have that background and be able to read that language as we go into debate. But anyway, going back to the presentation. So go to the next slide, next slide, next slide. Here we go. So why wait until now? This is something that I think everybody on the Resolutions Committee has been asked, that I've been asked by members of the Resolutions Committee as well, although we've been through it several times. Orange County sent the first censure against Dade Phelan on July 13th. That cited 3 instances of misconduct, not 5. And remember, you need 3. And so if there are only 3 and any one of them is debatable, then it's out of order or it fails on the merits. And so the 3 items cited were appointing Democrat chairs, failure of HB 20, which is the border security bill, and school choice. But as we know, we had 4 special sessions, all of which took place after that censure vote. And so that gave plenty of opportunities for the speaker to pass the school choice bill. And so the Resolutions Committee did not act in order to give the House the opportunity to fulfill that legislative priority. And you can imagine, if we had passed a censure against him for not passing school choice, and then later on it passed, then obviously that's not something we would want to do. So that's why we waited. Also, the Orange County resolution did not address the Paxton impeachment. The Jasper County resolution was not received in time to give 2 weeks notice for our November meeting. So we would not have been able to act on that resolution in November, which is why we considered the idea of having a special meeting in December or January. That would have been right around Christmas. I don't think that would have been, I think we mutually decided that wouldn't have been a good idea. And so we have waited until this February meeting. I know that's frustrating for people, but it was done to make sure that we follow all of the rules to the letter, and to make sure that every opportunity possible was given for our legislative priorities to be passed before this action was taken. So going to the merits, the grounds for censure that were identified. So there were 5 grounds that Jasper County identified that the Resolutions Committee recommends concurring with. There are more items in the resolution that we did not recommend, but they mainly had to do with other grievances that weren't related to the priorities or principles. But the 5 that we do, the first is referring and promoting illegal articles of impeachment. So we are all aware of the debate around whether the articles of impeachment against Ken Paxton were had to do with actions that were committed during his current term of office. However, the articles of impeachment had 4 articles that completely related to conduct that took place before he ever even became Attorney General. And so those articles were rejected by the Senate. They were not even heard. But the very fact that they were included in the articles of impeachment in order to get to 20 articles was a violation. And one thing that the resolution focuses on too, which I think was very wise by Jasper County, is it's actually very hard to find violations committed by a speaker, because the speaker doesn't usually vote. The speaker usually maintains neutrality in everything he does, and there are good reasons for that. So you can't usually say that they voted for something that was speaker broke neutrality and made sure that he was shown voting in favor. And so he voted in favor of articles of impeachment that were against the law. And that's our first count, limiting government power to those enumerated in the Texas Constitution and the U.S. Constitution. Number 2, the expense of the Paxton impeachment trial. So records show, and I've looked at the most up-to-date reporting we have on this, that the overall cost of the impeachment has exceeded $4.2 million. And if you remember, the claimed impetus of this whole event was that General Paxton requested $3.3 million for a settlement. Now we've already spent 4.2 and no settlement even happened. And we don't know how high that number is going to go. 4.2 is what we have accounted for right now. At least 3.5 million of that was spent by the House on prosecution of the impeachment. The state auditor at Lieutenant Governor Patrick's request is investigating for more, and he's gone into great detail in his speeches about those expenses. What really blew my mind was one of the chief prosecutors, Dick DeGuerin, who actually said that he was going to get paid just in time for Christmas. So this is a violation of core principle number 5, which is personal accountability and responsibility. It was irresponsible, the amount of money that was spent. Number 3 is one we all know, which is appointing Democrat committee chairs. I have pictured here his criminal jurisprudence chairman, Joe Moody, in a Black Lives Matter shirt and a mask. And the argument that's often made here is that these appointments don't matter. These committees don't matter. And so why not appoint some Democrats for everybody getting along, or tradition, or whatever arguments they're making? Do you think criminal jurisprudence doesn't matter? You think that you can go through the list in the resolution of all the appointments that were made, having to do with children's health, lots of other subjects, but the bottom line is those are positions that should have been given to Republicans, that we asked to be given to Republicans, and instead they were given to Democrats. So that is our third ground for censure. Number 4 is killing HB 20, which was the original border security bill in the House. So HB 20 would have created a border protection force and implemented other border security measures. Speaker Phelan, at his own discretion, ruled that out of order. And I'll talk about that a little bit on the next slide. But the substitute bill that was brought up immediately afterward, very quickly afterward, watered down the protection unit and removed the Texas Title 42 removal authority. Now, in a later special session, there was a bill that allowed expulsions, but it still did not go nearly as far as HB 20. And again, the only reason HB 20 didn't pass is because at the Speaker's sole discretion, he killed the bill on a point of order. And that's a violation of priority number 2, which is securing the border and protecting Texans. So on the next slide, let's talk a little bit about why that happened. Don't blame the House parliamentarian. Parliamentarians in this body, in the Texas House, at convention, anywhere, and I'm sorry, but parliamentarians don't make decisions. Parliamentarians advise. It is the chair, the speaker, the president of the society who actually makes decisions. However, the speaker does hire the parliamentarian, and our current parliamentarian is a guy named Hugh Brady, who is an attorney who served in the Obama White House from 2014 to 2017. He founded, although he doesn't currently work for, but he founded a firm that is currently being retained by local governments, including the city of Austin and Harris County, to find points of order on bills. Harris County taxpayers are paying the law firm he founded to find points of order on legislation they don't like so that he can advise the speaker to rule against it. That's going on right now. But it's not the parliamentarian's fault. He's doing his job. He's doing the job he was hired to do. It's the fault of the person who hired him. So next slide. Number 5 is opposition to school choice. So when the Jasper County resolution cited events that happened in the regular session, and just to go back to the regular session, the state Senate passed a school choice bill. The state House passed a school finance bill, HB 100, that did not include school choice. And so the two bills were supposed to go to a conference committee. so that a conference committee could hammer out a compromise that would give a bill back to both houses that could be voted on. The conferees that Speaker Phelan appointed for HB 100 were school choice opponents, and they refused to pass a bill out of the conference committee. The chief negotiator for the House, Ken King, actually issued a statement explaining why they were not going to pass anything out. Those are people that Speaker Phelan appointed. And again, we did not act at that time. Many months were given for the House to act on school choice, and we all know what ultimately happened, which was the Rainey Amendment, which was all of the Democrats and 21 Republicans voting together to take the governor's school choice priority out of the school finance legislation. So now we have no school choice, no school finance changes, and it was at the behest of all of the Democrats and a few Republicans under the Speaker's leadership. So, and that was our 8th legislative priority. So, to sum it all up, we have 2 violations of our principles, 3 violations of our local government, or our legislative priorities. Every requirement was met. Rule 44 allows for the action that I'm about to move that we take place, and so that is the motion I'm going to make, which is to adopt the resolution censuring Dade Phelan by the Republican Party of Texas.
Can you go to the mic?
Mr. Chairman, I respectfully disagree with the interpretation of Rule 44 presented to us by Mr. Bolin, and I believe that this motion is out of order.
The point of order is overruled.
And I appeal the chairman's ruling.
Is there a second? Hearing a second, we now go to appealing the ruling of the chair on the, yeah.
Can we ask for a record vote on this appeal?
Do we do it now? Yeah.
So I move to ask for a record vote.
There's been a motion to ask for a record vote on the appeal of the ruling of the chair. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes. We start now. The chair will present argument, and then we'll have 3 for, 3 against, pursuant to the rules. So, can we bring up the reference to Rule 44? Thank you. Okay, I wanted you guys to see the language. So, I assume the argument is that, I'm sorry, let me go to that later. I'll do it during my rebuttal. But what we do is we look at the original meaning of the text. If we're originalists, we're textualists. We look at the original meaning of the text, because when a statute's passed, do you look at the intent of the author, the Rules Committee members, or every one of the 5,200 delegates who voted on that rule? You can't. The best evidence of intent is the original meaning of the text at the time it was passed. Now, we apply a canon of construction to lists like this. It would be the nearest reasonable reference canon. When the syntax involves something other than a parallel series of nouns or verbs, a prepositive or postpositive modifier applies only to the nearest reasonable referent. Punctuation, by the way, is permissive, but is not a dispositive indicator of meaning. If you look, this is not a parallel series of nouns. SREC and any state convention held prior to the start of the period of a Republican primary. For example, if you take out any state convention and just left SREC, it wouldn't make any sense. Such a resolution may indicate a request to the SREC held prior to the start of a filing period. That makes no sense interpreted that way. So we must default to the nearest reasonable referent in that held prior to the start of the filing period of a Republican primary election modifies state convention and not SREC. I believe that's the plain meaning of that term. It's the meaning when we apply canons of construction to the rule, and it's the proper ruling in this instance. So I ask that you vote yes to uphold the ruling of the chair. Do you want to talk?
The ruling of the chair, or are we debating the?
We get 3-4-3 against? 3-4-3 against. We can debate on the appeal.
Jim Pickle, SD8. First, with all due respect, there's no referent issue here. The sentence, although it's been nicely colored for us, we talk about a resolution may include a request. Okay, who's the request made to? It's made to the SREC or any state convention, and held prior to the start of the filing period modifies both of those. And here's why I say that. There's other portions of this rule that you have to read along with this. You can't read this out of context. So if you'll pull my other references up. One standard of statutory or rule construction is that you have to read the entire rule in context, not leaving anything out and not making anything be redundant or unnecessary or void. So there's a section that says, that's what we talked about first, held prior to the start of the filing period. And then it says, files an application to run following the censure. Okay? I had these all pulled up a minute ago, I'm sorry. They were supposed to have them all highlighted. There it is. Yes. No, you go down, files an application to run. I think it's in the first.
It's above.
Yeah. He took a picture of the highlights. Sorry, Chairman. All right. Okay, this is also part of Rule 44. Okay. It says, if the office holder files an application to run for any public office in the Republican Party primary following the censure resolution's passage. That means if the office holder files an application before the censure resolution's passage, this can't be fulfilled because it has to be after he files. And here, he's already filed. We are after the filing period, and you can't go back in time and censure him when he's already filed to run because this penalty provision would not apply. Also, let's look at when the penalty expires. Let's say we impose a penalty. Any above penalty imposed shall expire on the date of the primary runoff in which the office holder would be up for re-election. So what's going to happen here is that this primary that's going on right now, this penalty can't be imposed, but just for several weeks. The whole idea of Rule 44 is to discourage people that are in office that are violating our principles from running again. We're going to spend money when they run in the primary. We're going to censure, we're going to tell people not to vote for them. We're going to discourage them from running again. Once they're running,
time's up,
can't do
Mr.
it.
Pickle.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Chris.
Point of information. Chris Burrow, SD3. The last clause that he was speaking of.
Chris,
Swear you
talk
people.
loud.
Chris Burrow, SD3. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, good deal. The clause he was speaking about only refers to the penalty of us spending up to 12%. It does not apply to us passing a censure. So we can pass the censure, but we cannot, after the filing point, we cannot penalize him with spending money, as it says, to educate the party on why we censured him. So we can't spend money on his opponent. And we can't spend money telling people why we censured him because it's already after the filing date and we will be using his money against him, his filing fees against him.
We will not be using his filing fees against him.
I mean, I'll allow it, Mr. Chair.
Separate account. Anyone else? Okay. I have a rebuttal just hitting what was already said. First of all, I do respectfully disagree, Chris. And the point of order, I would say, is on the applicability of the rule in its entirety after the filing period, assuming that the original clause meant what it means, it would only apply to the primary, but that's not the censure itself. That wasn't the point of order. I want to take the highlighted language that Jim put in section 1 up. Okay, yeah, that's better. If the office holder files an application to run for any public office in the Republican primary following the censure resolution's passage, the SREC shall be authorized to spend up to 12%. If the office holder files an application in the primary following the censure resolution's passage, here Representative Phelan did file an application to run in the primary following this resolution's passage on March 5th. Lastly, Jim had talked about the penalty lasting only several weeks. If it only lasts several weeks, then so be it. You still pass the resolution, or you still address the resolution. Thank you. And by the way, I ask you vote yes. A yes vote would sustain the ruling of the chair. A no vote would overrule the ruling of the chair, and we would not take up the censure resolution.
Mr. Chair, I move to divide the question. We vote on.
We're not doing that now.
We can't do that.
No. Yeah. Now, we're on the motion to overrule the chair. Okay, we're going to vote. It's a record vote, so vote with your pads. A yes vote sustains the ruling of the chair, and we'll take up the resolution. A no vote overrules the ruling of the chair, and we won't take up the resolution. Please vote now. Do we have it up? Yeah. So people, yes is 1, no is 2. I don't think mine's working. Raise your hand if yours is not working. Do you want to record anybody whose isn't working?
It gave me a green.
We're pointing over here at Mike for your vote. That might help get a couple in. Point, don't throw stuff. Oh, yeah. Slide this. There we go. You. Scroll down. Down. Ken Moore. Go down. Roman. Becky. Down. Down. Carmen. Down. Tisha. Down. Okay. Voting's closed in 3, 2, 1. By a vote of 51 to 11 to 2, the ruling of the chair is sustained. Now we'll move on to debate. We're debating the censure motion 343 against.
Chris Burrow, SD3. I think out of everybody in this room, I'm probably the only person that can say I have been friends with Dade Phelan for most of my life. I grew up, we were a year apart in high school. We went to different high schools, but our high schools played football against each other and we were friendly. And I've known Dade since we were teenagers. He's always been a little bit of an arrogant jerk, but he's also been very generous. Now, Dade comes from a very wealthy family. There is a Phelan Boulevard in the town I grew up in. There ain't no Bro Boulevard anywhere near where I grew up. Dade has been very generous to me personally in my political career, such as it is. And he's been wildly generous with Jefferson County and the Republican Party, the Republican women's groups there. If we were judging Dade based on his generosity, this could never pass. But we're not. We're voting based on what he's done that violated our rules. I wish that I could support Dade Phelan in this, but I can't. He's wrong, and he's been obstinate in his wrongness. I will be voting yes to censure Dade with a heavy heart. Like I said, we depend on Dade in Southeast Texas for our Republican Party to run. And this is going to hurt us, but it's the right thing to do. I suspect it'll pass. When it does, please join me. Sorry. In passing this with a heavy heart, because we are disciplining one of our children who has gone astray. And he is going to lash out at us, but it's right to discipline our children. Please don't celebrate when this passes. Please don't cheer. Do it with a tear in your eye, because the repercussions are going to be bad for my local people. They're going to feel it. They're going to be homeless. They're going to lose their headquarters. The Republican women are going to have a hard time having their luncheons because Dade Phelan is their sugar daddy. They've gotten in bed, and there's nothing they can do but support him. He pays the rent. So with a contrite heart, please join me in voting and withhold your applause and your cheering, because it's not a happy day. It's a very sad day. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Poyman?
In order to speak against?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, members of this body, my name is Dr. Joe Poyman, and I'm Fernando Trevino's proxy for ST14, and I oppose this motion to censure. I urge you to vote no. I've been active in supporting electing conservative Republicans to federal, state, and local office in Texas for more than 3 decades. Since 1992, I've attended every RPT state convention, that's 16 in all. I'm executive director of Texas Alliance for Life and founded it more than 35 years ago. I have lobbied in our Capitol building for pro-life laws since 1987. Over those 36 years, the positive changes have been enormous, beginning with virtually no protections for unborn babies. And over the years, the state has achieved significant gains, like parental notification and consent for minor girls to have abortions, protection from murder and assault for unborn babies, and informed consent for women in 2003. Creation of and funding of the highly successful Alternatives to Abortion program in 2005. The sonogram bill, which was authored by then Senator Dan Patrick, and we were working with him on that, helped him carry that, and defunding Planned Parenthood in 2011. House Bill 2, the 20-week ban and abortion facility safety standards in 2013. Bans on partial birth abortion and dismemberment abortion in 2017. So much more. All have advanced the pro-life cause, but the greatest, most impactful advances have been in 2021 and 2023. Through the leadership of Governor Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and Speaker Dade Phelan, the latest appropriation for the highly successful Alternatives to Abortion has increased to $165 million. That's $65 million increase, 65% from the previous year. No other state has anything like that. Because of the Texas Heartbeat Act and the Human Life Protection Act, both passed in 2021, reported elective abortions in Texas have plummeted from thousands per month to 0. Yes, 0. All 23 abortion facilities in Texas have stopped performing abortions. The industry has collapsed. Dade Phelan is the most pro-life speaker this state has had in modern times, certainly in the 6 speakers that I have lobbied for pro-life laws. Thousands of babies are now born each month who would otherwise have died tragic deaths from abortion. Tragedies for countless women and families have been averted. Some of our grandchildren may be born because of Dade Phelan. I urge you to vote no on this resolution.
Thank you. There was a point of order because he's reading from papers. Sorry, that was by Richard Hayes. Go ahead.
I'm going to urge everyone to vote for the censure. I've been to Orange County. It's not even my district. I've talked to a lot of the good people there. some of them even in tears, saying how hard they work for conservative values, and Dade fights them. So I very much appreciate my dear friend Chris and his remarks. I'm from South Chicago, and there's a club up there that buys a lot of influence, and they're evil, and people look the other way because of the money, and you can't look the other way because they pay for your lunches and they do stuff. You have to say there's right and there's wrong. And Dade Phelan is wrong for the House. He's wrong for Texas. Those wonderful things that were read a moment ago, I say they were passed in spite of Dade Phelan, not because of Dade Phelan. He has fought conservatives over and over and over. I urge you strongly to vote yes for the censure of Dade Phelan. Thank you. Dale Inman, SD4.
So we've had 2 for, 1 against.
Against
Okay.
Jim Pickle, SD8. I stood here a couple of meetings ago and presented and forced and got you guys to agree to pass a resolution condemning the impeachment of Ken Paxton. The reason that we did that was not on the merits of the impeachment. The reason we did that was because they didn't follow the rules in the General Investigating Committee when they impeached him. They didn't swear witnesses. They held it in 48 hours. They messed up the rules. So we pride ourselves on being a party that follows the rules. And we have to follow the rules because I've heard people in here tell me, well, the Democrats don't follow the rules, so we shouldn't either. Okay, time out. That is the only thing that separates us from them, besides red and blue colors on our shirts. The only thing that separates us is we follow the rules and they don't. And I've looked at this rule, and this Rule 44 does not allow us to censure him. Now, on the merits, I'm all for it. I vote against it.
Mr. Chairman, Rachel Horton, SD30. I rise in support of the motion to censure.
Yes.
We've heard some good moving statements, and we've definitely heard the facts about, the interpretation of the rules and whatnot. I do kind of want to bring this back into some perspective, because we started this consideration of the motion to censure, this discussion of censorship, back in January, when we begged with the Speaker's leadership not to appoint Democrat chairs, when we begged with the Speaker's leadership to pay attention to our RPT legislative priorities. It took us a regular session and 4 special sessions just to get through those RPT legislative priorities. I want you guys to remember some of that heartache and some of the headache that it took us to get where we are. Yes, we're celebrating conservative victories. Yes, we're celebrating those. But at the same time, it cost taxpayers time and money that was absolutely unnecessary. I thought Chairman Bowen's point to the parliamentarian issue is absolutely on point. The chairman does not have to listen to the advice of the parliamentarian. It's advice. It is not the law of the chamber in question. I will be rising in support, wanting to pass censure resolutions against the Speaker because his influence in the House has cost our cause. And for that reason, I think it's any time is the right time. Thank you.
Thank you. Donnie?
Mr. Chairman, again,
This is going to be the last one.
Baker, SD1.
Yep, last one.
I stand before you today not to defend Dade Phelan. I wished I could be standing up here supporting this thing. But respectfully, I disagree with most of you, as evidenced by the vote on the chair and the chairman, on what the rules say. I read the rules. I've reread the rules. I have read them numerous times. I read the whole rule. And I just don't think that we can be doing this now on this center, because in this center, it asks, the bottom of it asks for the punishment. And that's supposed to have happened before. And unfortunately, I don't know. I wasn't here in, I believe it's November, December. At that one, I wasn't here when that one come up before us at the resolution committee. But I know if it's like most of the resolutions that come up, we doctor them up considerably before they ever get here. And so even if it started in March, It was not, I don't believe it was the text that we're voting on today. Okay? And so I can't vote for this. And, you know, we used as a fundraiser, the party used as a fundraiser, what a great legislative session we had and how much we had accomplished. What kind of hypocrisy is it if we try to get money from people, telling them how great we are, and then on the other hand, we come along and we pull it back and say, well, the speaker is no good and we need to censure him. Now, folks, I'm here to tell you, I'm up here telling you not to vote on your emotions. That's the way Democrats do. If we pass this censure, we're going to be just as guilty of the Democratic election officials in 2020 that changed the election laws without their legislatures giving them permission to do so. We're going to be just as guilty as they are, because we are ruling again. We're making a ruling, or we're going to be voting against something that we don't like. And so we're going to bend the rules a little. But folks, we are supposed to be a deliberative body that is constrained by rules. If we have no rules, we will fall into chaos. And I tell you, I am not going to support this, not for my love of Dave Phelan. I'm going to not support this because of my love for this body and for our party. Thank you.
Thank you. That was 3, 4, and 3 against.
Point of information, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
please state your point of information.
Well, the vote we're about to take, are we concurring with one of the 3 counties the speaker represents? Or are we doing a new censure on our own? Because I believe the original censure was filed in time.
We are concurring with with Jasper County, which is one of the. We are concurring with some of the charges brought by Jasper County, which is one of the counties that he represents.
Okay, we'll now move to vote. Please use the voting buttons. Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for abstain. You guys ready? Sorry, hold on. Okay, we're gonna start. Okay, can you go to the list so we know who vote? Cheryl, Howard, Chuck, Fernando, Chuck. Point it towards us. It's not. Hey, Chuck, how you voting? Just tell us. Is it I or nay? What is it? Hey, all right. There you go. All right. Order. That's everybody here? Okay. Voting is closed in 3, 2, 1. Let's look at the totals by a vote of 50. Come on, Micah. 55 to 4 to 4. The ayes have it. The motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to everybody for the debate on that issue. And hopefully we can move into. We've only got a few resolutions left, but hopefully some of these are some that we can be happy about. So on behalf of the resolution committee, I move that we adopt a resolution in opposition to anti-Semitism.
It's been so moved. Now we're open for argument. Hearing none, we'll now vote. If you press 1 to adopt, 2 for no, 3 to abstain. Oh, you're sorry. Got it?
I want the text first. Yeah, we have to get through votes.
Oh. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can we actually preview the resolution before?
Yes. It was in your packet. That's
Before we
why.
vote?
All of them are in the packet. The second one. Do you want to pull it up? Put it up on the screen. It's the UNRWA resolution.
Mr. Chairman, are we technically still voting on the resolution, or
We are, yeah, debate's closed.
where are we
We're
at?
voting on it.
okay? Okay.
So now press 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 to abstain. Vote now, even if you pressed the button before, because they might have been doing the last one. Resolution number 2. Donnie. Galen. Go down. Chuck. Melissa. Go down. Got it. Yep. Voting closed in 3, 2, 1. 61 to 0 to 1. The ayes have it. The motion's adopted. Just give them a moment. Next one.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Resolutions Committee, I move adoption of a resolution in support of the actions that Governor Abbott has taken in relation to the Texas border.
It's been moved that the SREC adopt the resolution in support of the actions that Governor Abbott has taken in relation to the Texas border. That'd be resolution number 3. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Please press 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for abstain.
Hold on, we're gonna
Hold
reopen
on.
the vote. Yeah, hang on, everybody. You're good. You can vote now.
Let's go to the list. Keep pushing. Donnie, Susan, Lucas, Lisa, Fernando, or Joe. Who's up there? Howard, Melissa, Robert, Casillas, and Chuck Burnett. Adrian, give it a. Did you get it? Oh, there you go. You got it.
Mr. Chair,
Hold on, we're in the middle of a vote. Scroll down. Okay, that's it. Voting closed in 3, 2, 1. No. But hold on, go back. I can't see it. By a total of 61 to 0, the ayes have it. The motion's adopted. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, our dear colleague, Jan Duncan, is having a medical emergency right now. And if we could stop and have a moment of prayer.
Yeah. Let's have a moment of prayer for Jan. Thank you.
All right, we have one more motion to make as a committee. Before I make it, a couple of other items. I know that there is a resolution that has been written by our colleagues Kiko Canseco and Karen Marshall that they're planning on introducing in new business. That will be a resolution thanking the 25 other governors who joined Governor Abbott at the border and are committing resources to defending our border. So, when we get to new business, don't leave, don't adjourn. Give them time to make a motion for that to be taken up. I also want to make sure that I thank all of the members of the Resolutions Committee for your incredible hard work over the past 2 years. I think we've had lots of spirited discussions. Every single one of them has contributed, brought new ideas, spent hours and hours looking over these resolutions and making sure they are good. And of course, our Secretary Virgil Cruz has done an amazing job also. And so at every meeting, he and I spend a lot of time, and we have some side conversations with people too as they walk by. But just making sure that every resolution before it goes in our packet is something that we can be proud of, and I think we've accomplished that. So it's been a real pleasure doing this. The final duty that we have as a committee before convention is to recommend items to the Temporary Platform and Resolutions Committee. So the items that we vote on now will, which are in your packets, will be recommendations that we send to that committee so that they can make changes and additions to the platform at convention. And so with that, I move adoption of the items listed as recommendations to the State Convention Platform Committee.
Thank you. It's been moved that the SREC adopt the recommendations to the State Convention Platform Committee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll now vote on the recommendations to the State Convention Platform Committee. Press 1 for yes, 2 if you're abstaining. Press it a couple times. Tom, Nobis. Tom, Jan, go down. Gail. Got Chris Bird, Karen Marshall. Karen, you didn't register. Kiko. Excellent. Voting closed by a vote of 57 to 0 to 4. The motion's adopted. If there's no objection, do you want to do it? I was going to stand at ease for a couple.
Yes. I did want to say something.
Go ahead. Is it a point of information? Is it?
It's very important. It is very.
I said a point of information.
Oh, no.
Just assume it's very important.
Yes, if I get up. No, I wanted to thank Scott for being a rock star resolutions chair. In Scott's, this is Scott's very first term, and he was given one of the most difficult and high profile positions in this body, and he has done superbly. In addition, we've taken on more Rule 44 censures in this term than we ever have before. And he has approached it with such thoughtfulness, making sure everything is by the book. And, he's had to deal with difficult personalities. He's in the middle of every major fight in this body. And I will admit, I'm one of the difficult personalities he's had to deal with. But yes, but thank you for a great term.
I by the way, concur. And I think Scott's done an amazing job. I also concur about Rolando being a difficult personality. I had like a Starbucks gift card. I was going to give it out as an award to the person who gave me the least headaches, and I was going to ironically name it the Rolando Garcia of Montgomery County Award. Yeah. All right. Do you want to conclude?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. It means a lot. Thank you, Rolando. And with that, I conclude the Resolutions Committee report.
We're going to stand at ease for 10 minutes. I want to give James an opportunity to get some stuff out, and I want to make sure Jan's okay and give you guys all a bathroom break. So let's reconvene at 1:35. And can we have the Rules Committee up front for a picture?
7-3, and then you're done. You don't have to do all.
Please start making your way back to your seats. We're going to get started. Also, is Kelly Giles still here? Can you come up? And then we have an announcement from Becky as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We still have a few of these CRC convention fundraising pitch commitment sheets that everybody's supposed to sign up on. We probably have about 4 of them circulating around the room that have not been turned in. Would you please look around you and see if you have one? If you haven't filled it out yet, let me know. We need to know who is making the pitches in each of your county for CRC. So give me your sheet. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let's make our way back in. If there's no objection, I'd like to, if there's no objection, I would move to reopen my report, to go back because I forgot to confirm committee chairs. Not committee chairs, committee members. Hearing none, we're going to go back to my report really quick. If there's no objection, I've appointed Lisa Hendrickson to the convention committee. I've appointed Kelly Giles to legislative priorities, and I've already appointed her, but I don't remember if I said it last time when I was doing the list, but Rhonda Ward is election integrity and party work. Is there any objection? Hearing none, it's adopted. Now we'll move on to Robin Armstrong for the report of the RNC chairman.
I think I'll just do it from here.
You can do it. Yeah.
Great. All right. And so thank you guys for letting me do this a little bit late. There's not a lot going on at the RNC, so it won't be a very long report. So one big thing going on is, I'll go through pretty quick, is Bank Your Vote. That's a big effort for the RNC to try to get people voting early. Early voting, we saw this in Harris County where a lot of folks didn't early vote. There was a push by one of our good friends in Harris County to get people to not early vote because they said their vote would be stolen. Well, the goal is to get folks early voting because on election day, you could be distracted. It might rain. There might be a storm. You might be sick. Voting machines may not work. They may not have enough paper ballots at the voting location. And so you need to early vote. It's one big thing. We're pushing that all over the country right now. Mail-in votes are important as well. Another reason for early voting is because what we found is that we have ways to track folks who have not voted yet in the primary. And so what it does is you guys are all 4Rs, 5Rs. You vote in lots of Republican primaries. We don't have to worry about you voting. But when you don't early vote, you still remain on our tracker list for someone that we have to contact to get to vote. And so what ends up happening is we waste a lot of resources on people who we know are going to vote in the election. And so every one of us guys vote on day one of early voting. Get that out of the way so we don't have to use any resources contacting you when you're already going to vote. And so vote early. That's another reason to do it as well. Democrats have mastered this. We're way behind on election day, and oftentimes it's hard to catch up. Early voting. We've got people ballot harvesting in Nevada and California, Republicans ballot harvesting, which is something we have to do because the Democrats are doing that. And so that is extremely important. We had our Faith Engagement Summit. First ever Faith Engagement Summit at the RNC. I actually organized that and we put that on and it was a great success. We had pastors in from Nevada and surrounding states. We had national speakers come in. Ralph Reed came in and spoke. David Barton came and spoke. Harmeet Dillon spoke. We had Dave Welch come and speak as well from Houston, Harris County. You guys know Dave. And so we had a great event. The co-chair actually did an election integrity panel. And so we had a great turnout. It was a really good event. And so goals of that is to make sure that we engage our most loyal voting bloc in the Republican Party, who are evangelical Christians. We have to engage them and get them out to vote. Estimated that 100,000 evangelicals in Harris County did not vote the last election cycle. That's why we lost the county judge race. We've got to get them engaged in voting. Another example is to bring conservatives into the RNC to try and have more of an influence on that body as well. And so that is extremely, extremely important. And so we had success in that. So I am the engagement chair for the RNC nationally, and so that's why I organized that. Some people have heard some things about the RNC chair resigning, and so that's not definitive, but we think that is going to happen. We think that's going to happen probably towards the end of this month. The South Carolina primary is. The South Carolina primary, we think after that, that's when that'll happen. There's a lot of, I've done a lot of national interviews and such on this. I'm supporting Drew. I think would be fantastic to be our next chair. And so I have been very public with that. And so I'm not shying away from that. There's another gentleman who I think would do a good job, but I just think that Drew is really the guy we want. He's got a lot of national connections with CNP and a lot of these conservative organizations and Turning Point. He's working with all these groups already. And so I think he would be fantastic. That is who I've been supporting and who I've been kind of quietly pushing. Certainly the president, the presumptive nominee, former President Trump, actually has a lot of influence in this decision. And so he's going to be pushing someone forward. My argument for Drew is that Michael Watley's the other guy. He's the chair of North Carolina. Drew just defeated him in a co-chair's race. And so I think it makes sense. Actually, President Trump actually endorsed Watley in that race, and Drew still won. And so I think that I just hope that President Trump sort of leaned towards Drew McKissick. That's certainly my choice. I think he'd be a solid conservative leader for the RNC. I think that would be fantastic. And so that's kind of where we are, but we're just waiting until that resignation takes place. Texas, I just want to finish up with Texas is really the conservative model for the nation. And Texas is an example of what America should be. And it gives me hope, actually, and it should give you hope as well for the nation. And so why do I say that? I mean, if you look statistically, Texas, if you look at our demographic base in Texas, I mean, we are 41% white, 39.6% Hispanic, 11.9% Black, 5.2% Asian. That's important because we're a majority minority state, yet we're conservative and we still win. And so that is a lot to be proud of. You all have a lot to do with that. And so we should be proud of that. But I think America should look that same way. We have to keep up the fight. Democrats are going to spend over $100 million, well over $100 million, trying to defeat our candidate. Senator Cruz is always going to be target number one because he is so conservative. We're going to have to fight like ever before in this election cycle. It's going to be extremely important. And so Democrats know that if they take Texas, then they've got the nation. And so we are literally fighting for our nation right here in Texas. Going to these RNC meetings is so much fun because Texas is really kind of the envy of the nation. You know, all the other states just, you know, they love what we're doing on our border right now. They love how we're standing up to the federal government. They love how we lead on so many issues in Texas. And so be proud of yourselves for what you're doing. And we should be proud of Texas. And thank you, Chair, for the job that you're doing. I mean, I think it's important that we just, that we keep just pushing forward. So thank y'all and God bless.
Thank you. Call upon Steve Evans, Chairman of the Rules Committee, to present the report of the Rules Committee.
So many fans, so little time. We've got a snowstorm moving into Lubbock, so Linda and I want to head home as soon as possible. The Rules Committee, stand up and be recognized. Take a bow. Yay, Chuck. I've enjoyed being with all of you in this biennium. It's been a blast. And Gail, you mean so much to me. It's been wonderful on your way out, but you're not leaving us for good. Let's go through. Members, as our bylaws allow, the Rules Committee can make recommendations to this SREC to be adopted to send to the convention temporary Rules Committee. I got asked quite a bit today. There's a Rule 46 that we're going to propose, and we're not changing our rules. That's not within our purview. This is to add, recommend that the temporary committee take this up. They don't have to if they don't want to, but it's to recommend it from this body. Same way we did with Scott's committee to recommend resolutions. So Mr. Pickle has put forth rule number 46 that closes primaries, and I can tell you that the committee wordsmithed this thing to death. I don't think we've left any stone unturned, but Mr. Chairman, I move adoption.
It's moved the recommendation of Rule 46 to the Rules Committee of the State Convention. Any discussion?
Tony Trevino, Senate District 21. I rise to speak against moving this to the temporary committee.
Oh, go ahead.
So the reason why I tell you that, to me, all of us in this room that are on the SREC are part of the board of directors of the Republican Party of Texas. We have not been presented with a business plan. We have not been presented with a business goal. We have not been presented with anything to show what the risks are that we are taking. I know that this would only be going to the convention, but it's likely that the convention would also put it forward. It has impact on what's going to happen to us financially. It has impacts on what is going to happen to us as far as recruiting people to join the Republican Party. If you look at this, for example, it talks about how you can qualify to vote by presenting a current and valid photo ID, has attained the age of 18, not affiliated with another party. So the part of the problem with that is that it doesn't talk about what happens to voters, such as voters over the age of 70 who can currently vote in the state of Texas with an expired photo ID. It doesn't talk about military voters who are overseas and perhaps can't present something to, it's not fleshed out enough. I'm not opposed to closed primaries. I'm just telling you, I don't think that this is the way we should go forward with it. I would suggest that we consider as a body having a study done, paying for something to be done so that we can actually see it. It's my understanding this is not even on the platform. Perhaps I'm wrong about that. I haven't looked, but I have been told it's not currently in our platform to have closed primaries. And in addition, it's not a legislative priority. The easiest, cleanest way to get this done, to have closed primaries in the state of Texas, is to do it through the state legislature. I think it should be a legislative priority, and I think that we need to have it in our platform, and I think that we need to see a business plan so that we do not make a bad decision as the board of directors for the Republican Party of Texas. Thank you.
Ed? Oh, I'm sorry. Ken was up there first. Sorry.
Okay.
And then we're gonna-
Actually, I have two points of information.
Yes, sir.
If I can do that. One has to do with individual has to be is registered as a Republican with the Republican Party of Texas. This registration process, is this something that's yet to be determined, or do you have something already in mind to pull this off?
Correct.
Yet to be determined.
Yet to be determined.
Okay. The other question I had under down here at the bottom, it talked about the certification affiliation must be signed with an individual physically returned to the Republican Party of Texas. Does this mean that they come and walk into the office and do it, or can they do it to a county, give it to the county chair, or has that been determined yet?
I'm reading the same words as you are.
Okay, to be determined. All right. Thank
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, point of information. Just wanted to point out for Tony, it is in the platform. I didn't have time to look up the plank, but closing the primaries is a plank in the platform. Is there any other argument for or against?
Is there any argument for or against? Is there any other argument for or against? Is there any argument for or against? Is there any other 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 argument for or against
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Ed Zenner, SD 23, and I am for this pickle rule. And yes, it's not completely fleshed out. You know, the next rules committee will have to work on it to get it in sync with the Secretary of State and in sync with the legislature, because they may pick it up and run with it and codify it, or we may have to do more work on that. But, you know, we can't do a rule right now that is completely everything. It will have to be adopted and worked on, and that can all be done as the emergency rule change to clean up whatever it is, depending on how we sync with the Secretary of State and with our legislature. So yes, I vote that we should adopt this, send it on to the state. I think it would be great if all of our delegates voted on what they wanted.
Thank you. And by the way, this is not a rule change. This is a recommendation.
I'm speaking for the rule. We have to be reminded that Texas is the only state that governs from the bottom up. We make the rules. The grassroots, hopefully, will be grassroots overwhelming, but the grassroots is the one that, you know, governs our party. Taking it to the legislature, we've seen by Lieutenant Patrick, Lieutenant Governor Patrick here, anyway, that our legislature is controlled by the Democrats, partly because of Democrat chairs, but in total control. So if the Democrats are controlling our party now, then leaving it up to them through legislation to close the primaries would probably be a long wait. So back to, I'm just supporting this. I think it's a good rule, and we can critique it at the convention.
Chris.
Mr. Chair, I have 2 points of inquiry, and then I would like to speak in favor of the rule. So first of all, is this the entirety of the rule? Does it continue?
It is not. It is not a rule. It is a rule recommendation.
Is this the entirety of it?
No, there's some underneath.
Could we scroll
There's
up so
two
we can
paragraphs.
see the rest of it?
Point of information, the plank is
I think
246.
he has two. Wait, what were you saying?
I was just saying, point of information, the plank for closed primaries in the platform is number 246.
Okay.
The second
Points of
question.
information are supposed to be like you're asking me for information. but if you asked me that, I wouldn't have known it, so I'm fine with it.
The second question is a question regarding the photo ID. Is that intended, or do we know, is that intended to be a state issued photo ID or just anything at all? Any idea about that?
The discussion would, in the committee, would be a government issued ID that you could use now, including a passport issued by the United States, a valid ID.
Okay. Is that a friendly amendment that you would accept or not needed now? Okay. Okay.
The Rules Committee convention is going to chop this up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I mentioned before, I do speak in favor of the rule, and I do respect Ms. Tony's comments, with all due respect. But as far as any kind of a case study, I think we've been living the case study. I think we've been living the case study for quite some time, which is the reason partly why we are where we are. It's also the reason why this rule is very critical. We already know what life will be like without closed primaries. And I don't think anybody here enjoys our current situation. So I definitely speak in favor of it. I applaud the committee. And frankly, there's probably room to make it more stronger. But I very much hope that you vote in favor of it.
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of information. Would we be allowed to bracket this to Jim Pickles County?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'd like to amend.
Okay. Please
Tom
move
Novus,
to amend.
SD7.
State your amendment.
In the line item where it's item number 3, it says they must written certification no later than the first day on which a candidate may file for a place on the general primary ballot. Is that, I'm trying to remember, cannot they place on the register for the ballot come September for the next primary? Or is it 30 days from the filing deadline?
No later than the first day on which a candidate may file. So that's that's the first day. It ends in December.
Right.
So
Is it 30, is it 30 days for
it's
filing
November.
deadline? Okay, so it's November for a March primary.
Correct.
So we're looking at 4 months. I'm almost wanting to move that to the filing deadline, but to change that instead of the first day, the last day. No?
You can make a motion of whatever
that's
you
my
want
motion
to.
for amendment is to change it to the.
You making a motion to amend to change the first day to the last day?
Yes.
Okay. There's been a motion. Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Now we're back on the main motion. We've had 2 for, 1 against. Anyone else to speak? Leslie, are you speaking? Okay. We'll now move to a vote. It does not need to be a record vote because it's merely a recommendation to the committee. All in favor of adoption, please, all in favor of adopting the recommendation to the Convention Rules Committee, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to my committee. That concludes my report.
We're at the Legislative Priorities Committee report. Is there anyone to present the report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We all know that Joe Glover took legislative priorities to new heights. She led us into places we'd never thought we would get to go. We accomplished a great deal in this biennium, this legislative session. A number of the bills that addressed our priorities did get passed. A number of our priorities failed. But when legislative priorities first started, maybe 4 sessions ago, we had 1 or 2, we got nothing. And the next time around, we got nothing. And then the time after that, I think we got something, a little couple. But this time, we really did have an effect. Jill was that driving force. The members of the committee were a driving force. If you're on the Legislative Priorities Committee, please stand up. In addition to the LP committee, there were a number of activists across the state who joined us in working groups. The testimony at committees, the work in the grassroots, reaching out, clubs, organizations, county parties across the state, like the RPT has not done before, was accomplished in this session. And we did great work. We need to look forward to great work. Now is the time to look towards convention. Special sessions are pretty much over, I think. So talk to your delegations, talk to your counties, talk to your Senate district conventions, find, good people that want to make a difference through our legislative priorities. Your platform people are your legislative priorities people. We're all going to be making our recommendations for committee members at the state convention to the chairman. Find good people to serve on the legislative priorities committee to help go through the process of coming up with our priorities. Our platform is very important. Our priorities, our legislative priorities, are those things that we want done right now. The people that you appoint to these committees are going to be very important. Also, just work to get as many delegates as you can to the state convention. Build up those county and district conventions, build up those precinct conventions, get some great people, make it to where we've got not only 9,000 delegates, but 9,000 alternates in the convention. And that will get us the best voice from the voters of Texas, the delegates of Texas, and we can be the best party that we can be. Thank you.
Call upon Andy Eller to present the Election Integrity Committee report.
Mr. Chairman, first I'd like to thank you for actually taking some workload off of me with the election integrity. Your presentation this morning on the 3 areas of election integrity that we are now following with, the war room and the RNC person helping us out, as well as the training and working on the safeguards for our election this time. I appreciate that because I was unable to share that during the election integrity meeting yesterday. I just kind of alluded to it, so I didn't spill your beans. I didn't tell on you. So I did just so everyone would understand what they are. And those first 3 were actually covered by the chair today with the training, the recruiting of election judges and clerks, as well as a lot of the technical aspects behind a war room, phone number, getting all that stuff taken care of. So I really appreciate it. That's why I was thanking him for that. So the last 3 duties of the Election Integrity Committee generally deal with the legislative session. We're looking at legislation. We're working with our own legislative director, those that we can get into the Capitol, speaking with legislators to get our election integrity bills passed. And so because we're not in session, there was not a lot of that. So I did kind of want to back up a little bit during the committee meeting after we talked about what those duties were and kind of talk to the first 3 pieces of that, the things that we can do as a committee. And I did bring up the fact that there are national working group calls that we do put people on that listen so we can hear what's going on in other states like Virginia, Florida, Georgia, and we can understand what type of legislation is going on there to see if that's something we can duplicate here. I'm happy to say when I sit in on a lot of those calls, a lot of what they're bringing forward, we already have here or we've already worked on it, but it does give us some good insight on where we need to go. The other piece to this is there is a Texas coalition that does meet on Wednesdays via Zoom. And I know some people are on that call from time to time, and that does help us kind of coordinate within counties here in the state as well. So just a couple of more pieces I did bring up. Most people have known that we've gotten out of ERIC for voter registration or comparisons, which is really great. So I did want to bring up, I did during the committee meeting do a quick demonstration of the new Eagle Eye system. There is still a ton of development that needs to be done. The state has not adopted that system yet, but I did want to show folks what it can do and what we might be seeing in the future. So that was also demonstrated. And then the last piece of it is, and this is something I actually just discovered. I thought we had banned ranked choice voting in our platform. We had actually put that in the platform, and I could not find it. And I realized, oh no, we actually didn't put that in there. And if you were on the SREC last year during the legislative session, you remember that we passed a ban ranked choice voting, banning preferential voting resolution, which we didn't actually get it through the House. We got it through the Senate, but we didn't get it through the House in the legislature this time. And so I was encouraging our members to make sure they turn in resolutions at their county and SD conventions and their precinct conventions to ban ranked choice voting. And you can actually take the resolution we passed last spring, basically rewrite it and say, we want this in our platform. So that's my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you for stepping up and chairing the committee. Of course, we're thankful for all of your service. And also, by the way, Debbie Duke, who also was chair of the committee for part of this term as well. And very, very much wish her the best in her race as well. The next report is special committee reports. Call upon Alma Jackson to present the engagement special committee report.
My committee we had a very good discussion, and we always do. That's what engagement is all about. It's discussing and getting facts out and getting the truth out to everybody. And we can't win people over unless we are educated on the issues. I can't say that enough. Mike Monreal has been working with, he's continued his outreach to veterans, and it consists of discussions about the Republican platform and the need to bring our country back to common sense and moral values and making America great again as it once was. He brings up, or he does this to bring up the morale within our military and bringing strength and character to the ranks, and that's desperately needed. I think you can all agree on that. I have never seen our military in this condition, and I come from a military family. Roman Klein, he's attending grassroots organization meetings, including Waller County Patriots, Houston Christian Patriots, Brazoria County, and Harris County. He's also been active sending emails and many, many text messages to get the vote out. He's attending meet and greets, and that's good engagement. Keep it up. Maggie, where's Maggie? She's a firebrand. She's been block walking with candidates to personally engage with those who answer their doors, and she can do it. You know, we all have different gifts. Mine is a people person. I am a big people person. I like people. Some people don't like people. And some of those are in here. What I'm getting at is we all have different gifts. Hone your gift. Use whatever you have to get ahead with votes and to bring more common sense, moral people into the Republican Party. Well, she's a natural, and I'm proud of all of my committee members, but that Maggie's a little... And she has been wearing a conversation starter t-shirt that reads Voter Lady. Well, that brings attention to her and it opens up some dialogue. That works. I know, because I do the same thing. But it's not Voter Lady on me. She's also planning to create short videos with Becky Green, which is a great idea, to show those that are new to political activism and block walking on how to approach others successfully. That's a great idea. So thank you, Maggie and Becky. Dale, he's been block walking and engaging in that manner with the public. And again, that's excellent because that's when we can really reach him, is when we're face to face. Howard, where's Howard? Oh, there he is with a grumpy face. Howard is still working. He's still working hard, trying to get more high school Republicans. And that's a huge effort because Texas is so large and we desperately need our young people involved. Desperately. A lot of us are on our way out and we need to seriously replace some of our young people with common sense, not the guys or girls out there with the purple hair and the rings in their noses. And y'all understand what I'm saying. Thank you, Howard. He's also been working, preparing candidates to campaign successfully. All of this is engaging. I've been engaging everywhere I go. I was in Alabama in November, and the people that invited me there, they knew I was politically active in Texas, so they asked me some questions. And we got it open. Before I knew it, we were like 30 minutes into the conversation when they invited one of their neighbors who was a pastor who lived 4 houses down to come on over and just get into the conversation. Boy, did I engage him. He asked me for copies of my slides. And I told him, I don't know what y'all do here in Alabama, but in Texas, we work very, very hard. And he took my slides and they asked me if I could ever go back again, if they would gather a neighborhood group. I said, sure, if you're going to pay my airfare. So we'll see. I was in Walmart not too long ago, and I'm standing in line waiting to pay for my merchandise. And there's this grumpy man behind me, and I heard him say, he started looking. No, it wasn't Howard. It was a different one. He was a little taller. But he was behind me looking at the merchandise on the sides by the cashiers. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And I heard him say, what the heck? He used another word. He said, $2.98 for this. I used to pay 50 cents for this. I turned around and I wanted to say, well, thank the man in the White House, but I didn't. I was polite and I just said, you know, it's very important who you vote for. We have a lot of issues here that are due to our elected officials. And I just engaged him a little bit, but I'm telling you, there's opportunities everywhere, folks. Young people, I talk to teenagers a lot. We're reaching them little by little. Remember the Jimmy Carter days. Some of you were not even born then. That's when I was just about getting out to get elected, and everything was wrong. The first president I ever voted for was Ronald Reagan. That's when I came of voting age. But gas prices were horrible. Carter rationed gas. We could only purchase gas on either even days or odd days, and it was all depending on what our license plate number was. Do y'all remember that? Yes. Says the 5-year-old. We had 52 Americans held hostage in Iran by terrorists for 444 days. We had 11 Israeli athletes murdered by terrorists at the Olympics. The cost of meat was tremendous, and so was inflation. But what happened? We Republicans, we pulled our country out of that 1970s democratic disaster because we elected Ronald Reagan. We put classic conservative values at the heart of everything we did, and America became America again. And America is worth fighting for, folks. We can do this again, and we must. Slide, please. There it is. Said by Thomas Jefferson, freedom is lost gradually from an uninterested, uninformed, and uninvolved people. It is up to us to turn this mess around. And no matter how discouraged you get, there is always hope, folks. Don't stay. It's all right to get discouraged. I get that way, but we can't stay there. So I wish you all the very best. Let's get out there, bring people to the convention, like-minded convention folks, and stay engaged. God bless you all.
Call upon Rolando Garcia to present the local government special committee report.
I don't have much to report. The filing period for the local elections on May 4th, or I forget the date. The May local elections. The filing ends, I believe, next Friday. So hopefully, we continue to encourage counties to consider endorsements. But I do want to say a word about the Houston city elections in December. Just for background, there are 16 city council positions in Houston. 11 of them are single-member districts, and 5 are at-large, meaning they're elected citywide. Of the 11 single-member districts, Republicans hold only 3. Of the 5 at-large seats elected citywide, Republicans now hold 3 of the 5. Republicans can win citywide in Houston. How did that happen? I mean, Houston is, I don't know, depending on who you ask, maybe 60-40 Democrat, possibly more. So for a Republican candidate to win requires 2 things. Reaching out and winning over people who don't typically vote Republican, and 2, energized turnout among Republican voters so that we punch above our weight. Both things are required. And the candidates themselves did a great job in outreach and reaching out to minority communities, African American. They did well with African American voters, Hispanic voters, and they deserve all the credit in the world. And they did a fantastic job. And that's exactly what candidates should be doing. In motivating party turnout, that is where the local parties can help. All of these, the slate of our at-large candidates were endorsed by the Harris County Republican Party. But not only were they endorsed, under our county chair, Cindy Siegel, she raised $25,000 to do a texting campaign for our Republican runoff candidates. 63,000 Republican voters got a series of 3 text messages. 2 of the 3 races we won were very close. One race was decided by 300 votes out of 180,000 votes cast. I think the party played the Harris County Republican Party played a critical role. And that, I tell you all of that to say that endorsements are important, but this is something that county parties should be putting, can raise resources for, can devote volunteer hours for. We should no longer consider city council and school board races as just kind of something tertiary that parties may do. We have to start seeing it as much a part of our mission as supporting, county commission and justice of the peace candidates. Because municipal and school boards are the biggest items on your property tax bill. I mean, we're all good. I mean, we have CRC raising money for county level candidates, and that's great. That's awesome. We need to be doing that. But counties are the 3rd biggest item on your property tax bill, right? So that's all I have to say about that. It was encouraging to me to see the Republican progress in Houston in the December runoff elections. And, it gives me hope, and I hope it gives you hope as well.
Thank you, Rolando, and great job with the local government committee as well. Call upon Galen Devine to present the convention events special committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your help and leadership. Members of the committee, would you please stand? And Jen Hall, before you walk out that door, pretty please, I would love for y'all to give a round of applause to Jen Hall. What? So Jen and I are now, I think, almost best friends because we talk every single day about something about conventions. So this is my first term on the SREC, and the chairman thought it was a great idea to have me as your convention planning chair. And so Jen and I talk at 10 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock in the morning or 7 in the morning or while we drive to San Antonio. So thank you, Jen, for all your help and for always answering the call. So other members, Steve Evans, who I do not see. Oh, there he is. Steve Evans, Linda Hogue, Karen Marshall, David Wiley, and of course we miss Grace terribly, who was on that committee. So thank you all. So for all of you committees who are finished today, guess what committee you're now on? Welcome to the party. So in your packet, you have a one-pager. This is what people are asking you about, when to come, what the schedule looks like. You have it at your desk in a paper format, but you have it in your packet electronically. There's some click here buttons, which do not work on the paper copy. And so feel free to share that. It's public. So share away and answer questions for people, which will relieve some texting for me. Next is the VIP link. I've seen a few of you cheating before my report. And if you use that VIP link, please only do your hotels. We are making this available to y'all because we know you are busy and you are going to be busier with primaries. So only do your hotel. When you register as a delegate, you will do your tickets, your facility fees, and all of that in the online registration. Okay, clear? Yes? What are we doing on the VIP link? Hotel only. No, you're not. I'll do yours. Hotel only.
Does that include those of us who are term limited? My term goes to the convention, so I'm still a VIP. Is that right?
Gail, it will include you probably forever. It is in your packet, so you have access to it. Yes, absolutely. So the VIP link was sent to our sponsors and our senators, and then it was sent to all the House reps. So that's why everything's in that packet, right? So because they will do their ticketed events, their hotel, and their facility fees, because they will also bring some of their staff. So for you, to make it easy for you, you get to do hotel. That way we can block those off for y'all, because we know every one of y'all are coming, correct? That was so weak. Okay, the question for y'all, Grassroots Club members will have the hotel link on March 22nd because they get it 24 hours ahead of time. Delegates and alternates will get it on SD Day, 3/23. Okay? Got it? Yes? Y'all will ask me this as soon as I leave from here. What day are delegates opening the VIP link? There is a volunteer link for general volunteers. Yes, it will be added to the volunteer button on the convention tab right there. So all of you should be visiting this page, this tab, often when you're asked questions about convention, because that's where we're putting everything. So most of your questions can be answered there, and you can direct people to that. So help us do that. But there is a tab there that says volunteer, that red button. So if you'll click on that for us, there is 3 types of volunteers pages. That application must be printed because their parents must sign off on them being a page. It is ages 14 to 18. So that application is printed. Their parents sign off on and turn that into our page committee chairs. Sergeant of Arms, that application is there. You do not have to be a police officer. I think that is my number one question to do Sergeant of Arms. This is where you will find the volunteer link that James just brought up for us. It'll be here under volunteers. Yes, they may. Yes, so the question was, can a Sergeant of Arms also be a delegate or an alternate? And yes, they may. They do not have to, but they may. Okay, Resolution Builder is also on the convention tab. This is a tool. This is not mandatory, but it is a tool to help us get to the selectable text that we want for resolutions. So this is a way to help people fill out their resolutions. It's got the different categories. It asks if they're amending a plank. So please visit that yourself so that you are familiar with that resolution builder. Even if you've written a million resolutions, visit it because we have new precinct chairs and this would be a great resource to help them. So it will be used at the precinct convention and the SD convention. Check often, share, and I'm going to reiterate part of what David said about your committee chairs. So SD convention is March 23rd. And those committee chairs will be due to Chairman Rinaldi like April 1st. So my suggestion and what my counterpart and I have talked about is that we kind of have a bench. So we have like an A person for each committee, a B and a C. So in case someone's not a delegate, life is messy, things happen, and every day people are realizing, oh, convention's the week of Memorial Day, which we've been saying for a year, right? So they sign up to be a delegate, and then they check their calendar, and oh, guess what? They can't go. Bless you. So, so be sure that you have a deep list to know who can be on those committees so that we can get those turned in to the chairman in a timely manner and get them on their committees and get them training and get them good, ready to go. So we always think that the A person that we want is going to be the delegate and go, but life is messy. Life happens. There's graduations that week. So just be prepared so that you're not late turning those lists in so we can get people appointed. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you. Or maybe not.
May I say one thing about the resolution builder?
One.
This does not replace the convention process, folks. Don't let people think, oh, well, if I put it in here, I don't have to take it to my precinct convention, or I don't have to take it to my SD convention. No, this is just to make sure that people write resolutions in a way that we can process them in a timely manner as volunteers without pulling our hair out. But it emails them a copy of their own resolution, and then they bring that to their precinct conventions. They bring that to their SD conventions. It's just so that they format it and include the necessary information. And it makes it in digital format so that we can copy and paste it over when we're creating the subcommittee documents, preparing them for the platform committee.
Good, thank you. Call upon Matt Patrick, Chairman of the Platform Advocacy Special Committee, to report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Platform Advocacy was a very interesting committee. If you're on the committee, please stand up and take a bow. It's a new committee. Thank you. It's a new committee that Chairman Rinaldi asked me to chair this year, and I took a lot of inspiration from Dave Wiley's words and Jill's work. Just like legislative priorities did the first year, we got 0 accomplished this year. So, but maybe in another session or two, we will actually be getting something done. What we started out doing sort of one thing where we were trying to get track of all the legislation and advocate for everything in the platform, which was a little bit overwhelming. And we changed that up and picked out certain planks that we're going to advocate for. But since we're about to go into convention and have an entirely new platform, there's no guarantee that the things that we're interested in promoting are going to stay in the platform. But we did come up with a list, and I wanted to give that to you all, of the 9 items that we thought were particularly important and would have a large impact on Texans for their benefit or for the Republican Party in advancing the platform. So in no particular order, those are the founding documents in high school, which is plank 111, the prosecute election fraud, which is plank 226, parental rights, which is plank 30, repeal the obscenity exemption, which is plank 172, medical freedom, which is plank 137, Texas Health Savings Account, which is plank 144, Israel, supporting Israel, which is plank 271, and the last one was border security funding, which was plank, the second to last one, border security funding is 256, and then right to try is plank 142. So what we will do is we go forward in convention is work with the committee, the platform committee, to try and preserve those planks if we can, so that we can take those up next time and start working on those going into convention. So I just want to thank everybody for their support, and just to reiterate what Karen was saying, if you can get people, I mean, because we know how people are when they bring resolutions, right? In their precinct convention, and they're not always in the right format. So when those come up to your SD or your county conventions, if you can ask your county convention or your Senate District Convention chairs to make sure those get into a written format, that would be great. And that would sort of just help us process everything when we're trying to put together the packages that go to the temporary, the subcommittees for the platform convention committee. One last thing, just a reminder to everyone, as Dave was reiterating, it's very important to make sure that you get the right person on these committees at state convention. And for platform committee, just as a reminder to everyone, I've said it a couple of times in previous meetings, but reemphasize that we're going to be meeting via Zoom for starting 2 weeks prior to convention week. So when you pick your people or are considering people to be on platform committee, please talk to them and make sure that they understand what the time commitment will be. It won't be just convention week. They'll be sitting on a call after work for 2 weeks straight on Zoom for probably 4 or 5 hours a night as we go through all the pre-work that we'll do. And that'll allow us more time for testimony from the grassroots once we get to convention. That's sort of the driver behind all of this. So thank you guys, and appreciate serving. Yeah, Howard? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Let me pull that up. Hold on. Stealing my thunder. Yeah, border security funding is 256, and right to try is blank 142. Yep. I'm sorry? Yeah, we haven't fixed it for sure, but it's going to be either 10 or 11. So we'll probably start Monday, run Monday through Friday, and then the second week might be Sunday through Friday. But we'll wrap up the Friday before convention. The editorial staff, I'm already putting together. Still taking, if you have somebody that wants to volunteer to work on the editorial staff, just get them to Karen or to me. And they'll be going through and working on all the things that we review during those 2 weeks. So the first day we come in for convention week will be very quick, and we'll be able to sort of process all the review work that they have done in those 2 weeks and get that voted on and confirmed, again, subject to testimony. So what we're trying to do is create time for people to come and talk to us and for us to hear what they say. Okay? Yep. So no, those will be open meetings, and we'll publish that as we publish things about convention, and we'll try to push that out in all the SDs so they know you won't be able to vote or talk, but you'll be able to watch. Yep. Actually required by our rules. So yes, we will do that. Anybody else? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Matt. Call upon Morgan Graham to present the Candidate Development Committee report.
Combination of two reports since our last one didn't completely get served. Now, one of the things that we set out to do when we first had our meeting and the chairman established this committee was, of course, to figure out really cost-effective, efficient ways to provide greater resources to candidates and their campaigns, which includes, of course, a broad variety of people, from county chairs to precinct chairs and also volunteers. And we know it's one thing to be able to recruit volunteers and recruit precinct chairs, but it's an entirely different thing to actually be able to recruit active volunteers and active precinct chairs. So one of the things that this committee did approve that we have been working on for a few months was to put together a candidate and campaign resource portal. How many of y'all have tried to, I know that I've asked this question before, but navigate the TEC or SOS website trying to find information on election law or requirements? How many of you had a fun time navigating either of those websites? They can be fun, but not everything is very intuitively placed because, of course, they have to graft on new information, things like that. And it's something that also happens with websites. I know the party website is something that's being worked on. So one of the goals we set out was to come up with a very simple, streamlined one-stop shop for candidates, volunteers, campaigns, county chairs, SREs, everybody to be able to access information for various types of campaigns. And so by scrubbing links from the SOS website, Texas Ethics Commission, different PACs, we were able to come up with about 60 or so links to information and documents, PDFs that we were able to pull from them, and be able to hand that to staff in a very simple way so that they're able to put it into a template and build that page within the website. What also occurred to me is that in addition to them having to create this, we also wanted to make it easy for them to keep it up to date. And of course, doing that, it's going to be something that's going to have to change periodically, and also making sure that there's something that allows for staff to get some sort of notification whenever any site we route to changes or edits their page. That way, if they get hacked or anything like that, our staff will know immediately instead of, finding out down the road. So making sure that we provide that. We did come up with those links. It's just a matter of grouping, and after discussing that with the chairman, making it flexible enough so that staff can make sure that it's done in a way that's easiest for them to maintain in the future, because it can be very time consuming. Another project that we are working on, and we actually need y'all's input for, is organizing, and with James's help, organizing various interactive webcasts for candidates and their volunteers and scheduling those. We were discussing potential speakers, of course, Mr. Chairman and some of our ladies that work as boots on the ground, and part of that ground game being able to put that information out there for our candidates, for their volunteers. They'd be able to tune in and be able to ask questions. So if we were to have a candidate who, for example, flipped a district in a very blue area, like in our case, we have a House rep, Janie Lopez, flipped that seat red. And so she would have some very good information, especially if you're a candidate who's also running in that type of race, in that type of environment, or if you're a volunteer for that, or if you're a county chair. It might actually give you a little bit of hope. I know we are holding on to it very tightly on the border. And so if any of y'all have any recommendations, because we do want a diverse set of speakers from different parts of the state, if you could please submit those names, and then we can go over them, with James, with the chairman, and to determine which ones would be the most appropriate and as to when, so it does follow that election calendar, especially as we're headed out of the primaries. It's that much more important that we make those resources available in order to give them the best set of tools possible and most efficiently use the amazing and robust budget our committee has available to it. So that being said, if y'all have any ideas in terms of great speakers, we'd really appreciate it. I'm sure some of you noticed I'm on Signal, so you can feel free to send it to me there. And we'll be continuing to work with our staff and get that together. And Rolando, as a fellow difficult personality at times, one thing that we did not work on are resources for candidates running for local office, such as in terms of nonpartisan races. So we might be looking to y'all as a resource to see what we can also onboard for this portal that involves information pertaining to that, and would appreciate your input. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, just a couple things to wrap up. We have no unfinished business, general orders, new business. Go ahead.
To suspend the SREC bylaws, Article 7, Section 87, in order to consider a motion and a resolution thanking Governor Abbott and 25 other state governors. This resolution is.
Let me get you in, and then let me suspend the
I thought
rules.
you were calling me up.
Huh? No. I said let me suspend the rules. We got to have the vote. Okay. Is there a second? There's a motion to suspend the rules. Second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes.
Thank you,
Speak to your
Mr.
resolution.
This resolution was drawn up by Karen Marshall and myself in order to highlight exactly what's going on in our country right now, where Texas has been a very, very big point. We all know that this is a real invasion of our nation that's going to have some very detrimental effects, not just to Texas, but to our whole nation, not just with regards to fentanyl and robberies and other things, but also as a springboard for the other party to try and cheat this election or to come in under the wire and get a lot of things done. Because our governor has demonstrated such courage and such leadership, he has been able to get 25 other governors, that's half of the United States of America, to come down and to show leadership in helping Texas to secure the border and to do it with overwhelming success. They have brought down a lot of their National Guard and a lot of their state troopers in order to assist with this. And I think that it is fitting and proper that we should not just thank the governor for his leadership in doing so, but all of the other 25 governors who have given their resources to the state of Texas. And with that, I vote. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please press 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 for abstain. I think that's everybody, right? Yep. Voting will close in 3. Is that everybody? Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Voting's closed. Motion passes 62 to 0 to 1. Is there any other new business?
Just a quick point of personal privilege. Ed Hauser, SD 14.
Is this an announcement or a new business?
It's about Jan. So.
No,
I'm
just kidding. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. I want to thank the doctors in the room, Doctors Myers, Spires, Dr. Armstrong, Dr. Poyman for very promptly being available and checking on Jan. Her husband did pick her up and take her to the emergency room. So she is, as far as I know, she's doing okay. She's in stable condition. But I just wanted to say thank you all for your for your thoughts and concerns. And I will, I'm a family friend. I will be in contact with them, and I will let Virgil know as soon as we get an update, and so that can be communicated to you guys. So again, I appreciate your thoughts.
Yes.
I have one announcement for you
We're not on announcements yet. We're in new business.
Oh,
Any other new business?
Darn.
New business, Chuck?
Mr. Chairman, Chuck Burnett, ST20. I'm joined by Naomi. If I would have lobbied the room, I know there would be a line back here in support of what I'm fixing to say. But I want to thank you, or we want to thank you for serving as chairman this last term. You've done an outstanding job. You've faced criticism calmly. You've stood for our legislative priorities. Just thank you for everything you've done for supporting the priorities of the Republican Party. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, thanks. Thank you, and it's an honor to work with you all.
And thanks for not calling nice.
We have any more new business? Okay, so one more item. I think Rachel wants to come up as new business. Rachel Hooper had a new logo designed for RPT, and she's probably hoping that somebody makes a motion. I think that was it. So I think she was hoping that somebody wanted to replace it.
That for CRC.
We're on to announcements. You have new business?
Point of information, are copies of that available?
Yeah, buy a Texas Monthly from a few months ago. All right, we're on announcements. Do you have one too? Okay.
What?
Okay. You can come up too. Let's do them.
So for those of you that are non-Google members, I have hard copy VIP packets. So come see me. I know 2 of them. Don't even have to raise their hands, but I have hard copies.
Thank you.
Don't forget, we passed around those sign-up sheets for us to know, for the CRC to know who is going to, who we're going to be talking with for info. If you've still got one of those sheets, let us know. If you want a copy of that, I'll send it to you digitally so you can get some of your other counties. There's several of them out, 5 or 6, 4 or 5, I think. Anyway, thanks.
Excellent. I got Weston.
Well, howdy. I'm Weston Martinez. I'm glad to be here today. I had the privilege of, may I have the floor? I had the privilege of serving in the SREC back with Steve Ministeri and some of you guys that have recycled. And I can tell you what, strengthening the grassroots and giving us a voice is what we need to do. I will never forget, and you probably remember this, Reince Priebus actually said that if we had moved to taking Texas to winner take all, that he was going to nuke all of the delegates for the Texas convention and not seat us. That's right. So, Robin Armstrong, please be sure you accept Ronna McDaniel's resignation letter whenever you go to the next meeting. I appreciate it. But we want to thank you guys, Sid Miller and myself, for coming to the Christmas party that we hosted for the SREC. We had a blast. And some of y'all couldn't get your pictures, so we've got your pictures here today. So they'll be in the back so you can pick them up. Sid and I have been working hard to go rhino hunting across the state of Texas. Some of y'all are happy about that, and some of y'all, well, you're not. But God bless you anyway. We're glad you're participating in the process. I know he was with Shelley Luther yesterday. We'll be with David Covey this week and a bunch of other stuff. But look, Texas is absolutely the lighthouse for the United States of America. And there's only one way we save the United States, and it's a place called Texas. So it's been a long day for y'all. I'm Weston Martinez. God bless you guys. And we will be having another Christmas party for the SREC next year. These are on the back table.
Thank you. Any other announcements?
Yeah, Virgil asked that those that are term limited and those that are not running gather for a picture.
Yeah, everybody. Is it everybody gathering or just the term limited?
What?
Yeah, let's everybody come up front for a picture after we're done. Next meeting being scheduled, state convention in San Antonio. There being no further business before the body at this time. If there's no objection, the meeting will be adjourned. Hearing no objection, meeting's adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fine.